So the roadmap. Once you're done with the pre-work, all of the items I listed before, you want to start your PWK path with that learning path from OffSec. Those 11 boxes with those hints, they help a lot. It's a great way to access many of the boxes, the other boxes that you're going to have to get at, because it gives you information that you're going to have to replay against those other machines to get yourself further along in the lab. Once you completed that learning path, or at least most of it, because I didn't complete it all, I completed most of it. You want to do the sandbox walkthrough from beginning to end and take notes while you go through. I can't stress that enough. It was great for me to learn, and it made me realize the multiple steps it takes to gain ground and advance through a machine or network. An example could be like this, right? Access to the share drive. I captured some logins or creds that I can use. I use those creds, I get user level access to a resource. That resource then gives me information while I'm researching a vulnerability to escape user level access. That vulnerability, user level access may give a user to search another drive or check for permissions for which the user could capture a creative way to upload a file for remote code execution. But and I know this, I'm probably talking fast, but basically I'm trying to get to the point of the meat and potatoes of this talk. But the key here is Sandbox kind of walks you through a flow of how you need to pay attention to each step in the exploitation process. And it also has one of the AD sets, and that'll teach you how to do the AD sets as well. But you'll continue pawning the machines in the lab, and make sure you take copious notes to include lessons learned in a single sheet for quick reference. More on that later. So here's an example of my notes by port with a link to Hacktricks, which is my favorite website to learn for more needed information. As you can see, just to hit one of them, you got my SQL here, port 3306. I got my Hacktricks link. I'm using GitLab, by the way, just so you know where this screenshot came from. And you'll see the commands that I can run with Mmap for reconning. You'll see some of the access commands that I have. And then another exploit, UDF exploit that I have a link to. And then I use that to refresh my memory if I have that on a pen test, or if I'm red teaming that comes up, I always go to my GitLab and refresh my memory on what that exploit looks like or what I need to be looking at. You'll see the rest of it is structured the same way for Postgres and RDP. You'll see that they also have the link, the port, and some of the commands. So just something to pay attention to. Here's an example of what I learned from each box. I mentioned about having all the lessons. So every time I did a box, I captured what I learned and what I needed to work on, like those just small stuff, even if it was like Vim or VI. We all hate Vim and VI, good Lord. So I have a cheat sheet for that as well. But what I did was I captured everything I needed to work on, to include the commands that were very useful, especially for those commands that require like a backtick or something small of that nature, where I could just copy and paste it and change the pertinent information for the box I was on. It was great for a great document to have for my pre-exams as a quick reference, and then later in exams that I utilize. But for your notes, you want to make sure it's organized by host. You want to have continuous notes that results in better cheat sheets, because I pull a lot of from my lessons learned and made my cheat sheets that you saw previously. And then it'd be easy to understand and replicate when you come back to it, when you need it in the future, that is. So here's critically, if you still have access to your lab, do yourself a favor and do a mock exam. I cannot stress enough mock exam, where it's a chance for you to condition yourself for the exam, the 24-hour exam that you're going to have to take, and then the 24 more hours to create your report if you don't take good notes in during the exam. I listed the boxes. I listed the same boxes that I mentioned in the blog, but I added the buffer overflow that I did for practice. So here you'll see PWK. This is the IPs that I'm giving you, basically, and 4 more boxes with a buffer overflow box as an added practice. I was pretty good at buffer overflow from OSCE, so I just didn't really need it, but I want to make sure you guys were covered. So you have the AD set, 1 AD set in there, 4 boxes in a buffer overflow. Proving grounds, money. I'm gonna mention proving grounds again, because that's like, if you want to get conditioned for OSCP, you definitely need to do proving grounds. I use Von Hub, Lazy Sysadmin, which is also improving grounds now because Offset got Von Hub. You got Meathead, Cypress, and Megavolt, which is really hard. So, and then you'll see the Hack the Box. But the key here is that me and my partner, we tried to get one easy, two medium, or one easy, two medium, one hard, or two hard, basically when we did our pre-exams to test ourselves. So I emphatically stating again that doing PG prepared me for the exam. It sharpened my methodology. I recommend doing this after PWK. So when your lab ends, you definitely need to get in PG. I started with the easy and did it up to the hard levels and completed some play. So the screenshot you see right now is their practice version, or basically PG, Proving Grounds practice. They also have a Proving Grounds play. I use those two as well as their retired machines that they offer to prepare myself for the OSCP. My suggestion is that you use the list I gave you in the previous slide for a pre-exam after knocking out about 20 to 30 boxes here. I could say I probably did about 80, no, I probably did over 100 boxes in Proving Grounds alone, not to include Hack the Box or anything else. All right, so before you take the real exam, you need to update your tools. I say again, update your tools. Since OffSec uses the latest operating system, you want to make sure you get the tools that give you all your updated vulnerability data, give you all your updated vulnerabilities from the updated databases that you'll be getting them from. As you can see on the right side, I kept a running list of the things I needed to update. It to include updating anything on the Cali box and I also anything I need to update in my notes. That's on the left side. You can see how I organized my notes from September 2020 when I first started going down the OSCP route to basically February. It says let's see, February of 2022, right? And everything in between to include some of the pre-exam boxes that I did and my OSCP attempts. The bottom line here is I stayed organized. I used OneNote. It made it easy for searching anything I needed in the commands and the techniques. I could just throw it in the magnifying glass that you see on the right side. I just put the command in there or whatever I was looking for, and I was able to find it in a quick manner. If I couldn't find it in my cheat sheet, that is. All right, exam time. Let's get it, right? You have to have great time management while taking the exam and ensure that you eat, you take breaks, you don't get sucked into something you're stuck on or what we call a rabbit hole, which is really easy to get stuck in. Starting on the left, you can see when I started eating breakfast, I notated when everything afterwards, like the updates that I'm going to do, what box I'm going to hit, what I'm going to read, right? In fact, there's so much detail here from when I start. In fact, the date is still on there from when I passed my exam. If you look in the top left corner, you'll see April 1st, 2022. So that screenshot is literally the day I took the exam, and I haven't touched it since, obviously. But I want you to know that it's I allotted time for what I thought needed to happen for each box. Sometimes some things to note, it was my use of Atom, which is a report tool that I use to capture all my notes for the report. So that way I didn't have to redo everything after the exam was finished. So essentially what I'm saying is all my screenshots, any commands I ran, I threw them in my notes from Atom, and then I including the screenshots, and then I use Git to back it up in case my box failed or something happened catastrophic, right? I took some time to take snapshots anytime I updated my Cali box, and even during the exam, if I took a break or if I was going to sleep or something, I took a snapshot of the box just in case. And last thing I'll say, you see I had multiple breaks set for praying, food, and rest, right? I'll get to that in the future, or very soon, but I just want to note that if you look on the left side one more time, you'll see that I had open Atom OSCP exam report and run git add /commit tag m comments at every break. That's so going back to making sure I had my report ready. I wanted to make sure I could get it done very fast. So I made that a habit to make sure I was straight for after I finished the exam and could finish the report less than the whole 24-hour given. All right. So how did I do it, bro? How, right? I get a lot of questions from my family and friends about all the things I'm involved in throughout the week and how I balance all of that, right? I do a lot. I mean, I won't go through the rabbit. What I do a lot of mentoring, a lot of things with kids. And in fact, I picked this graphic because it not only depicts my life, but it could depict yours too, with a few substitutions here or there. But again, my goal right now is to break down how I study for OSCP and other certs using my simple framework. And I'll start with the big rocks, and then I'll drill down from there. So I'm going to give you my principles of time management, as there are many out there. I looked up, I was like, man, a lot of my time principles apply with others of what they've written, but here are mine, right? Because I closely analyze what I do year after year. It seems these are the core principles I stick to when I'm deciding how to accomplish my goals. The first one is planning. I write down my goals every year in January. It is not that whole beginning of the year, new me thing, but I write them all down in January, how it can be achieved, and items I will attack, and if I can do it, if I have more time. That plan will be in order for OSCP for use for visual purposes, right? So approximate date, I want to take the exam about 12 months out. This is for you, right? Because I already did it. But pre-PWK work, I want to do 3 to 4 months of that work with breaks baked in to make sure I don't burn myself out. During the PWK, you got to be laser focused. You got 90 days, right? Dedicated space to use all 90 days. So that next 3 months is just straight up. You got to use all that time and allocate the hours after work if you're working, and get it done, right? Post PWK, for me, honestly, was about 30 days. I think 30 days could be enough for you if you did all of the pre-work. And then the exam, no more than 2 to 3 weeks after you take your last pre-exam. So there may be times where it has to slide, right? Which happens, just as long as it's not 6 months to a year later, right? That's what you want to prevent. Prioritize staying organized. Here, you need to plan around your core commitments. For me, I know I have 3 major core commitments: family, work, sleep. Those 3 things I can't help, right? I have to have them. I need about 7 hours of sleep. So I go to bed around 10:30. I actually have an alarm that you see right here on the left side of the screen. My alarm is set to remind me to go to bed at 9:50. But sometimes I don't always meet that, but I try to still squeeze out generally close to 7 hours. I know I'm at the house about 07:30. That gives me, and I try to get home no later than 6 p.m. Again, these are general times. Since I know I'm active duty, I don't work like regular core hours like civilians yet, but I definitely try to squeeze in those, maintain that time frame. So everything else fits in between, like approximately 5 a.m. wake ups, and then at bedtime. And I reserve my weekends mainly for my family, as they are my core event, right? So the next thing that I want to hit is the schedule. So now that we know where the free time sits, we can plug and play into the study. We can plug and play that free time for study time to maintain consistency, knowing that we may not always get that total time allocated. This is important because we need to mentally prepare ourselves for what we don't get allocated and not feel bad about it, right? So if I aim to hit 8 hours during the week and 4 hours on the weekend for studying for OSCP, if I don't hit all 8 hours, it's okay. You know, I got to be okay with that and know that I had other things that were taking my time or gaining my attention. For OSCP, for me, I allocated 3 hours a night, a 3-hour block every night, so roughly about 21 hours a week. And let me tell you, this burnt me out really quickly. I got to a point where I didn't even want to do it anymore because I was doing it so much. I definitely, this brings me to my last point about reflecting and evaluating. At the end of the week, you need to see your schedule for if it's working for you or not, and your core requirements, and adjust. You have to adjust. If you need to push that exam back 2 or 3 months, be okay with it. It's all right. I pushed the exam. My goal initially for doing the exam was definitely not well thought out because I didn't do the pre-PWK work. So my goal wasn't there. I thought I could do it in a year. It ended up taking me a year and a half, almost 2020. Yeah, about a year and a half from the time I got access to the labs, right? So just reevaluate it, be okay with it, and know that you're doing it to ensure you achieve balance to your life and not burnout. All right. So for me, these are the the most important core blocks of balance. And this may change for you. This may be different, but I want to be clear that achieving balance in equal parts is not realistic. The point of this graphic is to make sure that we're capturing what's most important to you. For some, you may trade out spiritual for environmental or financial, but I hope this framework can help you as you push through for OSCP. For me, spiritual means a lot to me because I'm a Christian. So for me, I want to put this first. I felt it always helps me in everything else I do because it grounds me. As such, I dedicate and allocated time to read my Bible, praying, and attending church. Physical, I told you I'm a bodybuilder, so I definitely have a structured regimen for working out, food prepping, and massages, of course, because I got to get a massage. Mental, here's the bulk of my studying, reading, self-reflecting. This is where it happens, and a surprise up ahead at the best place I like to self-reflect. I hope it's not too graphic, but you'll hear it very soon. And lastly, social, right? You got to have some kind of social interaction. And honestly, my family takes the bulk of this, but it includes some rare outings that I have with some friends. I volunteer a lot, so I get that social aspect. And of course, my study buddies that I have online that keep me grounded in my goals. Let's break it down. All right. This is my calendar. There are many like it, but this one is mine. So this is a snapshot about a month into doing PWK labs. And I wanted to bring this up so you can see, hopefully this translates into something that's real and visual for you that you can then take and import into your lives. I highlighted the events according to the four cores of balance that you saw previously, but also added purple as an offshoot for miscellaneous items such as house maintenance, partner events, military events, those things that come up that I have to keep track of. The takeaway here is that you see things are consistently scheduled. Throughout the journey of OSCP for me, my lab time originally started with basically Hack the Box. Then I went to try Hack Me, and then I went to PG. And after that, my lab ended, right? It doesn't matter. You just pick the best time for you and you stick to it. So you can trade in. I'll give you an example now. I don't have OSCP lab time, but I was just finishing up CRTO. So CRTO took the place of OSCP, but with a lot less strenuous hours applied. So I want to point out a few things of how I was able to combine events. So, because you got all these different core events or cores that I have set up, how do you do them all consistently? How do you stick to the plan? So, for example, here's a really good example. My 6 a.m., I'm up, I'm doing cardio for sure, at least by 6 a.m. And this is where I take the first 10 to 15 minutes. I'm praying or reading my scripture. And then I take the rest of that time. I'm listening to music. I'm organizing my thoughts and my goals for that day. I'm researching. Oh, this is the best part. I researched the tool, a technique that I was trying to not imply, but I'm trying to utilize in the lab previously, the night previously. I started reading and researching why it didn't work or what the things I need to do to get me to that next level or next step in that pen test. This occurs all in about 30 to 35 minutes. So I'll note that I usually stick to the machines that allow me to use my hands, and by machines, I mean cardio. So in order to do this, I use the treadmill, I use the bike, I use the stair stepper, or I use the elliptical. I can't really use the rower because I can't research while I do that. So you'll notice that I'm using balance with machines, balance with physical activity, mental and spiritual all at one time. The last thing I want to point out is those little black squiggly lines that you see through there that I kind of drew in at the bottom. They're unscheduled events. And this may be TMI, but I'm usually reading or clearing my head while I'm on the toilet, right? I know you don't have to say anything, but this is the best place for me because I get a lot of great ideas there. It's dedicated time. I can do more reading, I can do more researching, I can do more short-term goal setting because I have to be there, right? It's a dedicated space and nobody can bother me. So you can utilize every bit of your time to set yourself and balance out and keep yourself on task. All right, so the resources. Here are some of the resources that I want to give you. So for your to-do list tracking, I use Color Note or Color Note Notepad. That's the screenshots you saw in the yellow. I've been using this since 2012, maybe. I love it. I still have stuff from 2012 that I archived that I still can go back and reference. Calendar, you see my habits, right? You see my schedule. That helps me keep my habits. It helps me stay on track because I am an executive advisor. So I have 2 calendars, I have one at work and I have one that I have on my phone, and I can use them both to balance my work life and my home life. To take my notes, you saw Adam. I use Git, you saw GitLab, and then OneNote. Those are 2 or 3 at the minimum places where you can organize and keep your notes for copy and paste purposes. I have a timer on my desk, actually. I don't, looks like I lost it. My kids may have been on my desk, but I have a timer. And the reason why I have a timer is I set it at 45 minutes to an hour to hack whatever machine I'm hacking. And if I don't get to the step I'm trying to get to, whether if it's enumerating or getting initial access or priv-esking, within those time frames, if I can't achieve it, I stop, I take a break, because after 45 minutes, I'm wasting my time. As I take the break though, my mind's still thinking, my mind's still churning. It's like, hey, what if I did this? What if I did that? This is the same practice I did for the exam, and it works heavenly. Every time I take a break, a new idea comes up. So use a phone, use a digital timer. I use a digital timer because you couldn't have your phone with you at your desk, and I don't know where it is to even show you. The last thing is set alarms, sleep alarms. You saw that I had an alarm set to tell me to go to sleep. I'm one that does not like to give up. If I don't get it, I won't give up until something snaps me out of it. My alarm rings at 9:50 and it says, hey, dog, go to bed. Got to get some sleep, because I know I'm going to train. That means I got to get rest for my body. Otherwise, I'm going to wear myself down, and then all kind of mental issues start because I didn't give myself a chance to reprieve. So set an alarm for yourself for bed. All right, before I hit this slide, I'm going to check the chat just to make sure I don't have anything, because I know I've been talking for a while. Oh, somebody mentioned a nano. Oh, okay. Really no, just comments. And yeah, I definitely love Nano. Nano is my go-to. I hate Vim and VI. I do have a bookmark for them. So when I'm in a box that has it, I can quickly refresh my memory on the shortcuts that I need. Let's see. Currently studying for OSCP. Buffer overflows is giving me a hard time. Any tips? Oh my gosh. Yes, I do have tips. So the quickest answer I can give you right now is go to the blog that I gave for John J. Jackson, and he has laid out the most simplest way and efforts to get buffer overflows, to get them down like in a sequential process. I too have in my cheat sheet, my cheat notes, which is also linked in that blog. You can actually use my notes to start your notes. Do not use my notes as your notes, because I did that on my first exam and I had like freaking 10 tabs open of other people's notes. It doesn't work like that, because I didn't build the notes. I don't know where the answer is fast, and I don't know what it means when they write it. So you write the notes in your language. So go to the blog and you'll be able to see John's method for hacking. And you'll also be able to go to my notes and see how to quickly get a buffer overflow complete. And let's see, did you go into the course knowing Bash scripting and Python, and how important were those languages to your successful completion of the exam? I think you learn by practicing. I've never been a great Linux guy. I can tell you right now, I learned to be a great Linux guy because I had to troubleshoot. That was for anything, even with CCNA. I used to be a CCNA instructor. So with switching and routing, I got really good because I started doing the work and practicing. Bash scripting right now, I don't know how to do anything from like complete scratch. I know how to take something, know what it's doing, modify to my liking. That's where I'm at right now with Python and Bash scripting. In fact, after this, I'll get to the end. I'm kind of skipping ahead, but basically I just finished CRTO. So that's my next step, is to increase my ability to start from scratch with Bash scripting, Python, and even C#, because those things are very important to me to increase my ability to be a great pen tester. So I hope that oh, and sorry, the last part is, how important were those languages to your successful completion of the exam? They were not that important. They were important enough for me to know how to grab a script or something from exploit DB, read it, know what it's doing, and then manipulate it to do what I needed to do. That comes with practice. And if you go through the labs, that'll help you. If you go through, PWK labs, if you go through Hack the Box, any of those, because you're going to find exploits and then you're going to have to manipulate them and modify them. That kind of teaches you what you need to do and how it works with trial and error. Because I think errors and mistakes teach you how to do it right. I hope that answers your question. So I'm pretty much almost, I got 2 more slides. Future you. This is the future you. This is how you're going to pass. I know you're going to do it. Stay organized. Take your freaking notes. You got to take notes, copious notes. Make sure they're organized. Have a lessons learned page. Make sure that your notes have your notes create your cheat sheet, right? Stay scheduled. Use the calendar. Use alarms. Use all those things I was just mentioning before, because if you don't, you're going to be everywhere. You're not going to stay consistent, which is the next one, right? Take accountability. Consistency means also being accountable for yourself. You got to make sure that you're hitting the objectives, the goals that you said you were going to take. Sometimes that come with a buddy. I emphatically got so much better in my methodology in pen testing because I had 2 or 3 buddies. One was from the Netherlands and the other one was from Norway, I believe. No, England. He was from England. So 2 random dudes I found on Discord. We started talking and was like, hey, do you want to start hacking together? And yes, I definitely slammed my methodology and got so much better because the guy from Netherlands was a little bit better. He's definitely better at web and I wasn't. So he could teach me as well and tell me, guide me, not give me the answer, but guide me as to how to find the vulnerability or create that exploit or get that next step. And then the last thing I'll say is persevere, try harder with the spotter. That kind of goes into what I'm saying about the guy from Norway and UK. You have to have somebody spotting you. If you're spending 4 days on one box, you're wrong. I don't spend more than a day on a box. If I can't get it the night prior, then I go one more night. And if I can't get it, I reach out, I start getting help because, or I look at the answer or take a hint because I'm wasting my time by not learning because I don't know the next step. You'll never know the next step if you don't get help. So don't waste your time on the box. If it's hard, it's too, first of all, let's go back. You got to try, you have to try. And when you do get help, ask them to help you with a hint by telling them what you did. Here's what I did. Here's what I ran. Here's what I know. Am I on the right track or did I do something wrong? Or can you give me a hint to lead me in the right direction? That's how you learn. If you just ask them to give you the answer, you're not gonna learn how to develop that mindset that I talked about earlier, or how to develop your own methodology that you're gonna need for the exam. So OSCP, right? Organized, steady, consistent, and persevere. So what's next for me? It was certified red team operator, but I passed it already. So I'm very excited that I passed it before giving this presentation. Next for me is Amazon Web Solutions Architect. I'm going to be doing that next, as well as increasing my web pen testing skills, Python and C# expansion. I mentioned that earlier. And then I'm gonna go for AWS security and maybe OSCP. I'm trying to see if it fits in my schedule. Because of retirement, there's a lot of things I have to do and I'm really busy. So, but at the very least, if I can fit it in, I'm gonna go for it. Other than that, I want to thank you for coming to my talk and let me know if you have any questions. Please hit me up on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'll be more than happy to help you and encourage you and make sure you pass the OSCP. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, OG. This was a great session. All right, everyone. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said awesome. I hope somebody can take away something to help them with the balance part, because I wasn't balanced initially. And then when I did get balanced, it was awesome. It was on. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, man. All right, well, I hope to see you all at our next session. But if not,